All right, guys, I hope this is coming through loud and clear. I'm just going to share this stream publicly on Twitter and in our Facebook group. Awesome, we got a few tuning in. Say g'day if you are here. Plan B first in the chat. William, YouTube, and Max. Awesome. And guys, we do have this breaking news that it looks like Craig, his lawyer, has confirmed that he did not receive Satoshi's keys or any private keys. So I'm going to get into this article a little bit. We've got a very interesting daily close coming up on the charts. We're going to have a look at Ethereum Classic, BSV, a few other coins that are moving. But I am just going to let our members know that I am going live on YouTube so they can join us. Fantastic. And I'll just add that to the Twitter thread as well. Oh, that's the wrong video. Okay. That's always the way when you're in a rush, isn't it? Let's see if that's any better. That looks better. Cool. I hope you're all having a good Saturday morning. Okay, so we've got 100 watching already. Thanks for joining us, Greg, Ray, Christopher, Brenton, Explicit. And yeah, we are going to have a look at Bitcoin. We're at this very critical level. We'll go over a bit of the TA, Ethereum Classic. What a move we've seen there. Bitfinex is, and we've had this blow off top. So last night on Twitter, I did post that I think we are getting into a zone where I'm going to be interested in shorting. And that is right around this between $10 and $12. So we'll have a look at that as well. We've just had a big rejection from this area. And obviously the story of the week, which we did a live stream on. I think that's nearly got 10,000 views. So most of you guys did watch that. But that huge blow off top. And I know a lot of people have got interested in alts again. Which is great. I was talking this morning about how I didn't really think that we'd see the mid cap and the lower cap alts really take off in a meaningful way until we got probably Bitcoin to near new highs or we got that new retail interest. But just in the past week or so, we've probably had 10 new people join our group, and you know, genuine noobs, and noobs isn't a bad word. You know, we're all newcomers at one stage, but I'm interested. I might even reach out, get some feedback from them. What has brought these people into the space all of a sudden? Is it just these recent moves in Bitcoin off the lows? You know, it's funny how quickly things can change. Just, you know, 2-3 weeks ago, everyone was thinking that Bitcoin's going to $5,000, calls of $1,000 from Peter Schiff and so on. And now you get a couple of green weeks and there's new retail interest and people coming into the space. So that is fantastic. All right, so we've got over 150 watching now. Smash that like button, guys, if you're all here, and let's have a quick whip through this article. So I did reach out to Decrypt to confirm that they did have Craig Wright's lawyer's details, and just I wanted to be 100% sure, you know, before reporting on this. But basically, yeah, Craig Wright doesn't have the keys to Satoshi's coins. And he didn't receive any private keys at all. So after contacting his lawyer, he doesn't possess them. He did say originally, I believe even in court, that under oath, that an encrypted file exists containing both a list of public addresses and private keys. So it looks like that statement was false. I'm not sure what that means now for the case if he did say that under oath. Many took that to mean that when the courier arrived with that file that he would get the private key. So is that our misunderstanding, or was it Craig's wrongdoing? So the file he received did not include any private keys. So I'm not really sure what the file included. Some sort of key slice to something else, to another trust. to another courier. We've got to wait and see how the story unfolds, what's next in store for us here. But either way, this does make things interesting for this case. If Craig doesn't have the coins, and the Klymans are trying to get money out of him and whatnot. So what a never-ending twisting tale, and you guys can read that full story over at Decrypt there as well. All right, so before we do just look at the charts, I want to talk about those that have been trading. So look, obviously I am a big fan of margin trading, and I believe that if you work your way up and upskill, you can do it successfully. Now, people say 90% of people lose money, and yeah, actually I agree with that, but that's because 90% of people jump in and they get that $100 or $1,000 and they jump on and they see the 100x button and they just want to make money. So look, I'd encourage people to take your time. There's going to be plenty of opportunities, and probably the most favorite trades I have are ones that aren't that frequent. So being really patient. I think I did a couple of live streams for you guys when Bitcoin was outside these Bollinger Bands and everyone thought it was dead. And once again, outside Bollinger Bands at 6,400, just talking about how these things tend to mean revert. When everyone's panicking and the on-chain data suggests otherwise, that things are okay, they are the trades that I really love. But let's have a look at a few of the altcoins. So just quickly, we'll have a look at Matic. And most of you know the story there. Again, this was one that I spoke about at the time, did some videos, and sure enough, once we get these dumps, it is just a result of leverage. And now there's a lot of coins that are available to trade on leverage. So Ethereum Classic, what exchange do I want to look at this at? On Binance, I think they've added 75 times leverage. And that really does make these moves exaggerated, and that presents opportunities as a trader. So I posted in our group that this was one that I was looking to short. So how do you know when to short? Well, it depends what sort of trade you're going to execute. So are you looking to scalp and day trade and catch a sharp move in a short period of time, or are you more looking for a swing trade? So look, as a swing trader, we start on these lower timeframes and we work our way up, and we're looking for divergence. So we almost got that here when the RSI doesn't really make a new high when price is making these bigger highs, and that just tells us that we're running out of momentum. So along with that, we're outside that Bollinger Band on the 1 hour. We did get a big divergence here again when we rolled over, and that big dump. So these are just the things that we are looking for on different coins. So once again, BSV. I know Omar, one of my friends, was talking about this very publicly, that he wanted to short BSV. And a lot of people, when they hear there's a shorting opportunity coming up or something's gone parabolic, they jump on, they log in, and they press short, and they've got no plan. They just think for some miraculous reason that the moment that they press short, that the coin's only ever going to go down from that point onwards. And you've got to realize that, you're at the beach, you're in the surf, the waves are going in and out, and you're just being thrown around if you've really got no plan. So this did take off, get outside our Bollinger Bands, pull back in, but these parabolic moves, it normally ends with some sort of blow off top, some big wicks. I did think that this was the top. I got stopped out of here. But if you are patient and you're trading right and you're not afraid to lose some money, because once the big drop comes, if you're in it, these markets are just amazing. Where else are you going to get, 10, 20, 30% plus moves to the downside in, a day or two? And once you've got that margin, you don't have to use 100 times leverage. You can only use a little bit of leverage. If you're getting that 10 or 20% using a bit of leverage, you can make big gains. And whatever your rules are you going to use Bollinger Bands? Are you going to wait for, that lower high to form? You've got to have some sort of trading strategy. And for me, I definitely like to include that sentiment when we go parabolic, waiting for those times when you're sitting here going, this is nuts. We've gone from $100 to nearly $500, and you just see those orders roll in, the people that are shorting getting liquidated as well, and just being really patient. And there's going to be times when you don't catch them either. We've all got lives as well. So when ETC has this big rollover, a bit of a bounce now, is this going to unwind? So in terms of Ethereum Classic, I did a write-up a couple of months ago for our members. That was back in September. talking about how I think this is going to present a big opportunity for them to really capture some market share, possibly off Ethereum, because Ethereum has these hard forks. It had one before Christmas and then another one on New Year's Day. Now there's this talk of Ethereum 2.0. There's a bit of uncertainty, and if they're just here doing what they've always done, just offering another alternative to Ethereum, I think that's a very bullish scenario for them. So alongside that, we then get a bit of a push up. The guys at Digital Currency Group, so Grayscale, Barry Silbert, if you don't know the history behind this, after the hard fork, people didn't think Ethereum Classic would exist. They just thought that we were hard forking, improving the code, getting rid of the hack that took place and whatnot, and everything would go back to normal. But then they contacted Poloniex. Poloniex was like Binance back in the day, and they listed this coin, and people were a bit confused about why you'd list it. It wasn't being supported by any of the developers or much of the community. And so a lot of people sold all their Ethereum Classic, and the price really got driven down. And then all of a sudden, Barry Silbert and others sort of came out and started talking positively about it. And they'd obviously been buying it all up as people had been dumping. And now obviously he owns that, one of the biggest holdings in their Grayscale fund. He owns a lot personally. So I'm not sure, the 50% plus of the estimates of Ethereum Classic that's held by just a couple of people. Now they also own CoinDesk, so you'll notice that they do a lot of positive articles about Ethereum Classic, and they maybe look a bit more negatively on Ethereum from time to time. So you've just got to remember that everyone's got a bit of an agenda in crypto. But lately, with all that momentum, Grayscale announced that they had increased their holdings of ETC, and investors had been going into that coin. So that just finished off this parabola. And as I said, once again, when things are going up, the sort of temptation is to say, oh, I want to short here. But you've just got to be so careful with alts. They normally do more than you'd expect, and you're sitting there going, this is absolutely nuts. The daily RSI gets into the 90s, a big wick. Work your way up these timeframes from the lower timeframes. Start to look for that divergence, and we can normally find some clues. And those dumps are always going to come eventually. Things just can't go up that much sustainably. So when it does roll around, we've got that margin trading. Was there really, a tripling of demand for this coin in a matter of days? Probably not. So that's when we're going to have those sellers take profits and whatnot. So we have just ticked over the daily close there. Not a bad candle. For Bitcoin here, we've been forming these continuation patterns, and it's had every chance to break down and roll over, and there's been buying step in every time. So you look at this, this wick here, roll over, big sell off, but then we get the buyers step in. Once again, buyers stepping in, good volume on the breakout. And another little pennant forming, and pretty good volume so far. So I think we are losing a bit of momentum. You can see we've got a bit of divergence here. Down the bottom on our RSI and on your momentum indicators as price continues to drift higher. So a couple of weeks on the 4 hour, 9,000 does appear like it's going to be a bit of resistance. So if we want to get out our horizontals, we can see that through here, the highs that we made under here as well. Look, maybe the next leg up is around 9.5, mid 9,000s if we can get there and break through here. But it has been a really big run so far, and every time we look like we could have rolled over, the buyers step in, the trend traders that are waiting for their pullback to get in. And I talk about how people are really, beginners in particular, they hate traders, and they hear people are shorting and driving the price of a coin down. But you have to remember that these guys are making money, and they're doing it profitably. So everyone that was shorting and making money on the way down, if they're good traders, they've increased the amount of money they have. So now they've got more money to buy on the way up, and they're going to trade on margin. They're going to buy when there's a little pullbacks because the trend is now higher. So it depends what style of TA you're using, but as long as that momentum and the trend is up, all these different types of traders are now pushing the market higher that were pushing the market lower. So let's have a look at that BSV daily candle close. Let's get our fib retracement. How much of this has it given back? So maybe drift down here. The market hasn't reacted that strongly. So on this news that Craig did not receive those keys, and he doesn't have this fortune, it's not going to be dumped, blah blah blah, I probably would have expected the market to sell off a little bit more sharply than this. But at the moment, it's kind of sitting pretty. So we have had a fair bit of a sell-off already, but when you consider how high we ran up basically just on that news, if that news is no longer true, is the market going to unwind itself and come all the way back down? Let's wait and see. But when we have these shapes, often if there's not the fundamentals to back them up, they do unwind and drift lower. But let me know what you guys think about that one in the comments below. I might take a few requests, any coins you want me to look at. I'm just going to talk about this trade here. So guys, once again, I'm doing all my trading on FTX. There should be a link below. I'm doing some educational content for them. I've already done a tutorial, how to use stop losses and the different order types. But their options are what interests me at the moment. They've got options and they've got volatility products. So if you think there's a big move coming, you can now make money from that. And once again, they're just not being used by anyone at the moment. That creates a lot of opportunity. So on this weekly chart, let's just zoom in a bit. I drew this horizontal here, so anywhere from around that $10 up to $10.50. Next stop here around $12 where we touched. So basically, I think that as long as we close below here on the daily and the weekly after such a big move, we could have a little pullback from that zone. But waiting for those divergences and waiting for my rules. Is it in the Bollinger Bands? Is it outside the Bollinger Bands? Do we have divergence? This, that, and the other. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these questions or any coins you want me to look at, guys. Can you give an example of a leverage trade in terms of a normal trade? So with a normal trade on a normal exchange, you can only really buy or sell. So when you buy something, let's say you buy Ethereum Classic for $5 and it goes to $10, you can sell it and you've doubled your profit. Now, if it's going to go back down from $10 to $5, there's no way you can make money on a normal exchange. But on a trading exchange, you can short it. And that basically means instead of having one ETC, you can borrow it off the exchange or a broker. And that makes like a negative number you can think of it as in your account. So you've got -1 ETC. You've promised to give it back to them. And so if you've borrowed it for $10 and you give it back to them for $5, they'll pay you that difference. So you make $5. You've made that profit. You're betting that it's going to go down. So don't overcomplicate it. Longing means you're betting it's going up. Shorting means you're betting it's going down. Now, on margin or leverage, if we think Ethereum Classic is going to go up, if we've got $5 and we can only afford one Ethereum Classic, well, on leverage, they'll let us leverage that up. So we can buy 10 times or 100 times, and they will allow us, they'll lend us that money. So there's a couple of things that happen at that point when you're borrowing the money. One, you've got to pay a bit of a fee for keeping that position open. It's like an interest rate. You're borrowing some coins off someone else, just as we spoke about before. When we borrow coins to short, we can also borrow coins off people to go margin long. And they get an interest rate for that as well. That's where the whole DeFi system really comes from. There's a big demand for people to borrow money and borrow stable coins for margin trading and other things. Now, in that example, if we're on 100 times leverage at $5, if the market drops 1%, then because we're on 100 times leverage, we've wiped out 100% of our money. So the position gets closed. So that's why leverage is so dangerous. If you're on 10 times leverage, then if the market drops 10%, times 10, you've lost 100% of your capital. So that's why leverage gets people in sticky positions. Now, if you happen to pick the absolute bottom at $5 and it doesn't go down 1% and liquidate you before the move up, instead of doubling your money from $5 to $10, you've times that by 100. So you've had an enormous gain, a factor of 100 better. And then you close that position. So that's why people do like margin, because there is the ability to make more money fast, but also the risk of losing more money fast. And at the moment, in this environment where there's so many beginners doing it wrong and losing money, that does actually create a lot of opportunities if you're a good, patient, disciplined trader. So once again, check out the tutorial. Don't jump into it until you're comfortable. There's good practice exchanges out there. You can get a practice account or practice with really small amounts of money before you go diving in. I hope that explains that. And I've got plenty more detailed videos on that, Julio, in our Crypto Academy if you join our group. XMR and ADA. Okay. Now, Monero has been one of those privacy coins where it's either loved or hated. Sometimes people are fearful that privacy coins are going to get banned and delisted from exchanges. And then other times, I think it was Brian Armstrong of Coinbase came out this week or last week and said he sees a huge demand for privacy coins and privacy in general, or privacy protocols. And yeah, from that, as well as the market moving higher, we had some big moves on Monero. So similar to Bitcoin, it's starting to approach this area here where we could see a little bit of a resistance. But yeah, guys, I'm really keeping it simple again lately. Use horizontals. Bollinger Bands worked really well in 2017, and then it was more, I found moving averages and trends worked a little bit better. But yeah, I'm always flexible. Whatever's working best at the time. Learn those slightly different crafts. Next request was Cardano. Now, I think this is one that has suffered a bit from falling behind, like a lot of projects, but with the likes of Algorand, Hashgraph, Cosmos, Polkadot, all these Me Too protocols launching, if they can't get that mainnet out and working and the smart contracts going and getting developers, then they're just getting further and further behind. So technically, wow, back at 3 cents. I think we joked about getting to buy it at 3 cents when it hit $1, and here we are. Has it bottomed out? This is a really long bottoming process. Do we have one with a little bit more history? Were Binance one of the first to list it? Yeah. So well over $1 there, $1.40. So when there's something down by this much, the big percentage moves happen. Now that can be to the downside or the upside, but it has formed higher lows on the weekly there as well. So yeah, a little bit of volume, but Cardano need to get that wallet out, get that mainnet out, and get people interested in it. Dash had a huge move as well this week. Once again, if you miss these moves, a lot of beginners, their go-to move is to panic and to FOMO in. So this is great to see this sort of volume come in on Dash. And a lot of altcoins have got this Wall Street cheat sheet looking pattern now, don't they? Where they have the huge move, FOMO, the washout, the bounce. You know, basically this is when people think they're dead. Signs of life, and now we're hopefully starting to trend higher with volume picking up. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, newcomers entering the space. I'm surprised how many posts we got from newbies in our group just in the past couple of days. So it's great that they're here. In percentage terms, I think Dash is going to have the headwind of so many other staking protocols out there. There's dozens that are trying to attract people, and that was Dash's real point of difference back in 2017. You know, if you get a masternode, everyone was talking about having a Dash masternode, and it got up to $1 million at one stage to run one. Tutorial on options. I've done some in our learning units in our group, but specifically on FTX, yeah, I'll do one soon. At the moment, their interface, you can only request quotes. It's not like the options chains where you can see what all the options are trading for. But for those that don't understand options, basically you can buy the option if you think Bitcoin's going to go up to 20k in the next 2 years, or if you don't think it's going to go down, you can sell someone else an option. So there's all these ways to make passive income. FTX crashed last night. Did anyone else have that issue? I'm not sure. I've been spending a lot of time on there, too much time lately, and I haven't had an issue. Is this a bull market or a fake out? Do you think privacy coins will get regulated? Yes, I do think privacy coins are going to get regulated. They're always going to exist, though. Once you've got money or fiat into the world of crypto through Bitcoin or stable coins or anything, then you can always exchange it to a privacy coin on a DEX these days. No chance of an ETF. That's why we pumped. Yeah, I'm not too fussed about the ETF. You know, we had ETF hype and then backed hype, and now we've kind of got this halving hype. And I'm doing my 4-year cycle video. That will be out this week. I've got a big thesis I've written up for members about how I think it's going to affect Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, even Zcash, Bitcoin. I think there's going to be some opportunities there. So, are we in a bull market? At the moment, everyone is going to say that it's still a downtrend until we make this weekly higher high. Now, we have made these slightly higher lows on the weekly time frame, but look, the trend is still down with these wicks. So that's when we start to get a bit excited if we can get that weekly close above 10,500. And that's the risk to reward. So if you want to take some more risk and buy these wicks, you've got to acknowledge that, hey, it could have gone lower. But remember, people were calling for $1,000 when we hit $3,000. So at some stage, it's going to bottom. And if you wait for that higher high to be confirmed, you know, Bitcoin went to 9,000 really quickly, and you could have bought in a little pullback at 7.5. If you're patient, a lot of people were thinking it was going to come right back again. So this is why you've got to have one stash for hodling. People love dollar cost averaging these days, whatever it is. Respect that long-term portfolio, have it on a ledger, hardware wallet or whatnot. And if you're going to do the trading side of things, make sure it's fun. If you want to use leverage and whatnot, make sure you know how to use those stop losses, because leverage itself isn't bad. You know, 100 times leverage isn't what's going to hurt you. It's the size of the position it allows you to take. So if you log on and say, hey, I've only got $1,000, but it's going to let me put on a $100,000 trade. Well, that's your fault. That's not, we shouldn't be blaming leverage, because you can use 100 times leverage on a little position and only risk $10 and trade that $1,000 amount. So, there's different ways to think about it. But yeah, in terms of the short term, Adam and Eve, I did post about this fractal back in the start of the year. Was it January? We did that whiteboard video about the Adam and Eve pattern that played out really nicely. I'm not sure why that keeps coming up. Sorry, guys. Let's get out my pointer. That's better. We did have a bit of a fractal where we had that V move, more of a rounded bottom the second time round, that inverse head and shoulders. That's played out nicely. That's got us to target. I think we were aiming for 8,300 at the time. A bit of a pullback from the longer term downtrend, retesting the neckline. So all these things have been playing out perfectly. And hey, we've all had good runs and bad runs, but at the moment, we're having a pretty good run. I hope you guys are too. And it's nice after such a tough period, this unwind, the plus token selling. I think that really pushed things down lower than what they otherwise would have. I'm not sure what you guys think, but yeah, getting back to really, really simple, because if you had have asked, where is this pullback going to go? And you had have said, well, it's going to come back and kiss this region perfectly where we had all that support throughout 2018. If you were just patient until it came back and kissed that level, don't overcomplicate things. You could have doubled your Bitcoin stash. Now, obviously, that's hard to do in reality, and there's lots of emotions, and day to day, it can change. And next time around, it might not be that deep of a pullback. Next time around in the bull market, we might take off straight away. So don't try and pick the market day to day. Learn how to trade and wait for those really obvious positions or the extremes in sentiment, the bubbles, or the panics, the blood in the streets moments. So that's it for today, guys. Members, I've got some more content coming up for you. Tomorrow, some more reports, another little hidden gem. For more of that content, guys, head over to nuggetsnews.com.au. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday for something different for that market close. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video around, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, guys. Cheers.